I've been in education this is my 16th year in education. My first 13 years, I was a classroom teacher in the Santa Rosa Consolidated School District. I taught every grade level, K through 12. I taught PE, I taught health, I taught math, I taught science, and one year I was even the librarian for the high school. And so my last 9 years of my career were spent at the high school teaching math and health, as well as, I was the head volleyball coach, I was an assistant basketball coach, and assistant track coach, as well as the BPA advisor and the MESA advisor. And so an additional 2 years after my 13 years as a classroom teacher, I was an assistant principal in Roswell Independent School District. And then after that, I applied to where I am now, which is the New Mexico Public Education Department, College and Career Readiness Bureau. And so here at the College and Career Readiness Bureau, I do a lot of things that I did in the classroom. So I oversee health science career cluster pathways. I oversee CTSOs, FFA, BPA, TSA, FCCLA, HOSA, Skills USA, so oversee CTSOs in general through our Career Technical Leadership Project, which is hosted there at Eastern New Mexico University. I also oversee the early college high school programs across the state. And then I manage Perkins and Next Gen funding for Region I, which includes Portales, Clovis, Melrose, that area of the state. I forgot to tell you that in my background, I have the Pathways to Careers math curriculum. That's like one of my main jobs. That's what I was specifically hired for, was we are creating a free math curriculum that correlates to career pathways to answer the question, why do I need to know math? And so this has a lot of, information about careers. All of the lessons are correlated to specific careers so that students can see the relevance between math and careers. So I just wanted to let you know on that. All right, so I am from a little town in New Mexico called Anton Chico. And so that's where my mom and her family are from. I was born in Denver on her trip to see her sisters, and I was born out of state in Colorado, and then came back and grew up in Anton Chico, New Mexico, where I went to a K-8 school, and then I attended Santa Rosa High School. We had to get bused because we lived so far away, so we had to take a bus every day to school and every day back home. I've got 2 siblings. I've got a younger sister and a younger brother. I have a family of my own, so I have a husband, I have 3 kids, I have a daughter and 2 sons, and then I have a granddaughter who lives with us too as well. So I was doing a master mentor coaching program through Northern New Mexico College when I first started teaching. And so we were doing this awesome work with, how to stay in the profession, because that there was a huge overturn of, people coming into the teaching profession. And so we were doing this work, and the director who brought in this program and wrote a grant for it was trying to find a college that would accept the credits, and we would get, a specific degree for doing all this work and taking all these courses and whatnot. And Eastern New Mexico was the college that accepted the program of study. They also accepted, if you come in and do this, this is what, here's some pathways that you could take. So there was like a pathway in curriculum instruction, and then there was a pathway in educational leadership too as well. So I chose the curriculum instruction path because like I was all about programs, and so because it was a free grant and our courses would get paid for, I was like, oh no, this is a great opportunity. But in addition to that, Eastern has always had a great reputation for their educational programs. So I was like, I'm all for it, jumped on board. And so that's where I got my first degree in curriculum instruction, my master's program, went through that whole process. But then I went back again because Dr. Penny Garcia, I believe, she had reached out to teachers in New Mexico about the NISL program, which is the National Institute for School Leadership. And so here was another opportunity to get my licensure in administration through this program. And again, it was free. I was very poor growing up, Christy. So like, I'm like, I don't want student loan debt. I'm trying to find all these free programs for me to, advance my career as well as get quality information. So Eastern New Mexico, the courses that I took, all of it was quality information. It was, relative to what I was doing, what I was interested in. And so that's how I obtained my master's in curriculum instruction as well as my licensure in administration through Eastern New Mexico University. I grew up at Eastern too. Like I was a basketball player, and I remember we always went to camp. As a volleyball coach, I always took my girls to camp at Eastern. So like I already had that, sense of culture. A lot of professional development I've done through Eastern New Mexico University. Just being a Greyhound, the t-shirts that I get from Mel are really great too. for being an alumni. But my students too, like being part of the CTLP project when I was a BP advisor, they do the officer leadership training there at Eastern in the summers. And so I would take my students there so that they could do the leadership program. Just the overall feel of the staff, how friendly they are. Dr. Brinson was awesome with me. Just the concern that they have for their students in general. That's the great thing about being a Greyhound, is that they really, I feel that they really care about their students as well as hold high expectations for students in their work. Well, there's a couple of things that I do like in my spare time, and I put that in quotations because I have no spare time. So I have my 40-hour-a-week job, which is, everything that I listed to you that I do. But I am also the volunteer library director for a library in Anton Chico, where I do everything there. Like I'm the IT person, I'm the billing person, I'm the curriculum, the collection developer, all of those things. And so what I really work on is focusing on programs there. So this summer, I got a grant over $8,000 to run the summer reading program at the Anton Chico Library. And so it was great because I used that funding to buy the kids that completed the program school supplies, gathered all that data. You have to do reporting and so forth. And so it really got me to thinking as to what other programs can I come and, give to my community. So there was another program that for adults that I basically wrote. And so it's digital learning skills for adults. And so I just received notification that I received a $4,000 grant to provide workshops in digital skills to adults. So I'm going to be working on that. So my experience with being an educator has led me to assisting not just the people that I work with, the teachers and so forth, but actually with the general public in providing multiple opportunities for them to learn a new skill or to get access to resources and opportunities. Yeah, so I do a lot of outreach with, and a lot of it, comes from the fact that I am able to be in this position, and I have access to a lot of resources, and I get a lot of, I'm able to meet with a lot of people and find like, hey, this can assist in the educational world, but it can also assist in the community world too as well. So. I think everything was free there, so I didn't have to apply for an additional scholarship. But I had all A's in my graduate work, for the exception, I think it was 1B. So I carried I carried a good GPA. I don't know what it is right now. I'd have to look it up. It's like a 3.9 or something like that. And so there weren't any other,
I understand.
Right.
It's more of a, Dean's List is more of an undergrad thing, and that's usually the one people think of.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So,
So again, like, I guess it was an honor too to be, like, we were part of this master mentor coaching program. Like, that was very selective as to who was picked for that. And then as a result, Eastern was the one that picked up these people being able to get something more out of it than just the courses. They were able to work more, they were able to work towards a master's. So, and what was great too was I didn't have to take as many courses as the rest of the participants, because I had already started I had already taken like a bunch of graduate courses at New Mexico Highlands University, which was my undergraduate work. And I had started like my licensure. When I started my licensure, I started taking graduate courses just in case later on I wanted to go back and get my master's. And what was great about Eastern is they accepted those courses. So I only had to take fewer courses than anyone else to get my master's. So, and that was a great thing about Eastern, having that relationship, or there are the courses from New Mexico Highlands University correlating with the courses from Eastern. I think so far my proudest moment is getting this position with the public education department, because as a teacher I was only selective to like whoever entered my classroom, and as a coach who I was involved with. As a principal, same thing, but now in my position I'm able to reach far more people than I did as a classroom teacher and as an assistant principal. I said too, like with Dr. Brinson and Dr. Garcia, that National Institute of School Leadership, the courses that we took from there were very beneficial in the type of work that I was doing, and they're assisting me now in this process with the work that I'm doing now. So I think those, I love education, so I never have like a favorite teacher or a favorite class. I just think all classes are beneficial to me. But if I had to say that those were the most influential, I think those were. I know that there was an assessment course, and I don't remember who the professor was at the time, but that assessment course was very rigorous and beneficial to what I do now with data. So like a lot of people think that education is not very rewarding. And what I've learned, like when I first started, I was like, oh my God, I don't know if this is, if this is what I want to do. I just think like the experiences that come, and I never believed it when other people say like, you're not going to see it until later on when a student comes up to you and says, thank you. And I was like, nobody's ever going to come to me and tell me thank you for whatever you did for me. But they do eventually. Like I go out to my town where I have previous students that are like, they still call me Miss. They're like, hi, Miss, how are you? And they, even though I'm not their teacher anymore, they still, and other kids that I've never taught, they call me Miss just because all these other people call me Miss. And so the rewarding experience comes a lot later, and at the time it may not feel like it's very rewarding at all, but eventually it does. There are some rewards in the process, and just knowing that I was able to shape a student, and assist in their pathway is part of that rewarding process. So my experience is different from others. Like, I wasn't able to go to like homecoming or any of those things because what made it feasible, here was the other reason why I chose Eastern, is everything was online. It was online before it was an online thing, right? Blackboard. And so living where I lived in Anton Chico, I was able to take the courses without going to Eastern or having to live there or anything. And I was still working and going to school at the same time, as a classroom teacher and taking my courses. So that was one of the other reasons why I chose Eastern, because they gave that online option. So that's my experience at Eastern, was it was all online. And so it was great to know too that when I showed up for graduation, the teachers the professors that I took courses with online were at graduation, and they're like, hey, so you're Breezy. This is the kind of online that you weren't able to see anybody's face. Everything was done, based on the words that you wrote and the interactions, the discussions that you had. And so that was my experience at Eastern. But to know that, when you did show up, they're like, oh, you're Breezy, great. They still knew who you were. So I think I've mentioned it before. It helped me get my master's in order for me to move up in my levels of teaching. So I'm a level 3 instructional teacher because of the master's that I got through Eastern. So I was able to move pretty quickly through my levels of teaching from level 1 to 2 to 3. And in addition, I was able to become an administrator and get my administrative license because of the NISL program that I attended through Eastern New Mexico University. And so because of the education that I got with them, as well as the experiences that I've had in the classroom and as an administrator, I was able to, show qualifications for this job that I have now with the PED. I don't know. My path took a different pathway. Like, I was going to be a medical doctor. That was my dream. And life turns and has its way of doing things. So I think eventually I would like to mesh something with that. Like, I taught math and I was good at teaching math, but my health classes, like my health science classes, is where I was like so passionate. Like, I was still passionate in all my other classes, but I think people could see the passion that I have for health science based on the fact that that's what I had wanted to do. So I think like that would be one of my dreams, is to mesh the health science. And I kind of do that now, but in more general, maybe really correlate health science with the educational experience that I have. I know that I also have an EMT basic license certification. I'm thinking of pursuing that a little bit more so that I can become a paramedic and then be able to teach courses for the rural area where I live, because we don't have anybody who's both a teacher and, a paramedic. So that might be something that I would push for later on. A dream of mine is to be able to go teach at the college level, those type of courses, career technical education courses. Everybody always asks me, and I would ask kids that too, and I was like, I can't expect them to answer that if I don't even know who my role model is. I just well, I'm just thinking that I don't necessarily have any specific role model in mind, but I think anybody who values education is my role model, and I have a deep respect for. I really don't have anybody specific that I would say is my role model. Volunteering, running the library. I love to read, and I'll read anything, from research books, educational books, to even all children's books. I'm like, hey, what's that children's book about? So I love to read. I love to find, and this is funny, so I like to find the best about each city or town in New Mexico and do it or visit it or whatever. I just want to thank Eastern New Mexico for all the opportunities that were presented to me and that I've took advantage of. Again, I think that Eastern is great when it comes to what their mission and vision is towards education. Again, really focusing on the student, and they're always focusing on improving too as well, and actually getting feedback from when we finished NISL, they asked us, what is it that, teacher prep program at Eastern, what should we be teaching teachers? And so they really took our feedback with that, in developing and improving their teacher prep program there.